A note to our viewers, we received news after our production deadline that actor and martial artist Chuck Norris, star of Walker, Texas Ranger, has died at the age of 86. You can find his obituary and learn more at our website, Legacy.com. Here are the most recent deaths in the national news as reported at Legacy.com in the third week of March 2026. Visit Legacy.com to read full obituaries for most of the people featured in this video and leave your own condolences on their Legacy page. Scientist Sir Anthony Leggett died March 8, 2026 at his home in Urbana, Illinois at the age of 87. He won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2003 for his groundbreaking work in superconductivity and superfluidity, advancing our understanding of the universe. Leggett is also being remembered as a longtime professor at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Journalist Ernie Anastos died March 12, 2026 at a hospital in Mount Kisco, New York. He died of pneumonia at the age of 82. He spent decades delivering the news in New York City, working as an evening news anchor at WABC, WCBS, and other TV stations. Anastos is also being remembered for reporting good news on his nationally syndicated radio program and podcast, Positively Ernie. DJ and radio personality Lord Sear died in March 2026 at the age of 52. He hosted shows on New York City Radio and Sirius XM and was part of the Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito show, where he helped launch the careers of artists like Biggie Smalls, Jay-Z, and the Fugees. Lord Sear is also being remembered as a producer who appeared with Eminem on the Anger Management Tour and had a voice role in the Grand Theft Auto video game series. A note to remember, sometimes personal information, such as someone's cause of death, is not announced immediately by their family or the authorities. When a cause of death has not been officially confirmed, we do not report on rumors. Every family has a right to their privacy. Actress Jane Lapotaire died March 5, 2026 at the age of 81. She won a Tony Award and an Olivier Award for her starring performance in Piaf, just one of many celebrated stage roles in her long career. Lapotaire is also being remembered for her appearances on TV in The Crown and Downton Abbey and in such movies as Lady Jane. Musician Phil Campbell died March 13, 2026 of complications from surgery at the age of 64. He was the longtime guitarist for Motörhead, joining the band in 1984 and touring and recording with them for more than 30 years. He is also being remembered for forming Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons after Motörhead disbanded, playing alongside his three sons. Actress Judy died March 11, 2026 in Marina del Rey, California. She died in her sleep at the age of 83. She was frequently seen on TV in the 60s and 70s, with memorable roles on shows like The Young Lawyers and Peyton Place, and a starring performance in the TV movie Brian's Song. Pace is also being remembered for movies like Cotton Comes to Harlem, The Thomas Crown Affair, and Three in the Attic. Reverend John M. Perkins died March 13, 2026 at his home in Jackson, Mississippi. He died after living with Alzheimer's disease and dementia at the age of 95. He was a Christian leader and civil rights activist who spent his life working to help lift people out of poverty while sharing the gospel with them. He is being remembered for founding the Christian Community Development Association, a network of congregations working together to assist the poor. Perkins was a U.S. Army veteran of the Korean War. Musician Augie Meyers died March 7, 2026 at the age of 85. He was a founding member of the Tejano supergroup the Texas Tornadoes alongside Freddie Fender, Flaco Jimenez, and Doug Sahm. He was the last of the group's founders to survive. Meyers is also being remembered as a founding member of the Sir Douglas Quintet, known for their 1964 hit She's About a Mover. TV host and actress Kiki Shepard died March 16, 2026 at the age of 74. She was the longtime co-host of Showtime at the Apollo, cheering on both professional entertainers and amateurs as they showcased their talents on the beloved variety show. Shepard is also being remembered for her work on behalf of people fighting sickle cell disease through her KIS Foundation. Singer Dolores Keane died March 16, 2026 at her home in Ireland at the age of 72. She was a founding member of Dannan, known for their Irish folk music, including the hit single The Rambling Irishman. Keane is being remembered for her deep and melodic voice as she sang the traditional music of Ireland and performed with artists like John Prine and Emmylou Harris. Author Len Deighton died March 15, 2026 at the age of 97. He was best known for his spy novels, especially his popular debut, The IPCRESS File, which was adapted into a movie starring Michael Caine. He is also being remembered for his cookbooks, which were aimed at men and featured his invention of cook strips, recipes that he drew like comic strips. Deighton was a Royal Air Force veteran. Actor Matt Clark died March 15, 2026 at his home in Austin, Texas. He died of complications from surgery at the age of 89. He had roles in classic westerns like Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean, and The Outlaw Josie Wales. He is also being remembered for playing Chester the bartender in Back to the Future Part 3. Clark was a U.S. Army veteran who served for 2 years. Economist Christopher Sims died March 14, 2026 at his home in Minneapolis. He died of injuries from a fall at the age of 83. He won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2011 for his work to demonstrate the cause and effect of economic factors like interest rates and inflation on the money supply. Sims is also being remembered as a professor at Princeton who previously taught at Harvard, Yale, and the University of Minnesota. This Women's History Month, some of the most remarkable obituaries we've seen at Legacy.com weren't for celebrities, but for everyday people like you and me. Those include this multi-talented grandmother from Illinois who painted houses, could fix nearly anything, raised 5 children, collected vintage hot rods, and listened to all sorts of music from Patsy Cline to Tupac Shakur. This distinguished educator, born in Texas, who became the president of 2 institutes of higher learning, Cypress College in California and St. Augustine's University in Raleigh, North Carolina. And this 98-year-old great-great-grandmother from Virginia by way of Pittsburgh, D.C., and Huntsville, Alabama, whose family described her flair for home design as simply she was a female Frank Lloyd Wright. At Legacy.com, any family can publish an obituary in honor of a loved one's memory, online and in local newspapers everywhere. Just visit Legacy.com and select your local community. In addition to featuring current deaths in the news, Legacy.com also honors the lives and legacies of notable people who died in the past. Here are some of this week's anniversaries. 5 years ago this week, actor Yaphet Kotto died at the age of 81. He was a star of the TV series Homicide: Life on the Street, and he had notable roles in movies like Alien and Live and Let Die. 15 years ago this week, singer Ferlin Husky died at the age of 85. His hits in the 1950s and 60s, like Gone and Wings of a Dove, earned him a place in the Country Music Hall of Fame. 25 years ago this week, actress Ann Sothern died at the age of 92. She played Maisie in a successful series of movies and a radio show spin-off, and she starred on TV in Private Secretary and The Ann Sothern Show. Singer and songwriter Chester Bennington was born 50 years ago this week. He died in July 2017 at the age of 41. He was the lead singer for Linkin Park, known for songs like One Step Closer and In the End. Actor and comedian Jerry Lewis was born 100 years ago this week. He died in August 2017 at the age of 91. He was a comedic great who starred in movies like The Nutty Professor, and he helped raise more than $2 billion with his annual fundraisers for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Every week in the United States, flags are lowered to half-staff to honor the lives of Americans whose communities are mourning their loss. Here are the most recent half-staff memorial flag honors. Flags in states around the U.S. have begun to be lowered for the 6 troops killed in a plane crash in Iraq. We honor their names with a moment of silence. Flags in South Dakota have been lowered to honor the memory of former state legislator Darrell Dean Schremp. Flags in Virginia have been lowered to honor the memory of U.S. Army Corporal Marvin Sylvester Patton, who was declared missing and killed in action during the Korean War. His remains were recently identified and returned home for burial. Flags in Virginia have also been lowered to honor the memory of Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Shaw. Flags in Pennsylvania have been lowered to honor the memory of Corporal Timothy J. O'Connor, Jr. of the Pennsylvania State Police, who died in the line of duty. Flags in Pennsylvania have also been lowered to honor the memory of Private First Class Christopher Lee Lopez. Flags in Oregon have been lowered to honor the memory of former State Senator Ovel Gordley. Flags in Minnesota have been lowered to honor the memory of Deputy Fire Marshal Sean Johnson of the Minnetonka Fire Department. Flags in Nevada have been lowered to honor the memory of former Lieutenant Governor Sue Wagner. You can read more about the lives of the people featured in this video on Legacy.com. Follow Legacy.com on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube to stay up to date on national news deaths.